On January 10th, 2026, according to CNBC, President Donald Trump stood before reporters and said something no American president has ever said about a NATO ally. We are going to do something on Greenland, whether they like it or not. If we do not do it the easy way, we are going to do it the hard way. The hard way. Against Denmark, a founding member of NATO, an ally that has fought alongside American soldiers in every major conflict since World War II. According to the Atlantic Council, this was not diplomatic posturing. This was a threat of military force against a treaty ally. And according to defense law experts cited by Just Security, if America follows through, NATO would be legally obligated to defend Denmark against the United States. Read that again. The alliance America built to protect the free world would be legally required to go to war with America. 57,000 people live on this island. According to the United States Geological Survey, over $1.5 trillion in rare earth minerals sit beneath its ice. According to Fortune magazine, every nuclear missile fired from Russia or China toward the American mainland flies directly over Greenland. This is not about an island. This is about the future of the Western Alliance, the future of great power competition, and possibly the future of global conflict. They told you this was about security. They are lying. Welcome to frozen assets. The Arctic is melting, and what is buried underneath is about to change everything. Here is what the White House says. According to National Security Advisor Michael Waltz, and I quote, "This is about protecting America from Russian and Chinese aggression in the Arctic." According to the official State Department position, America seeks to work with NATO allies to ensure the security of Greenland and the broader Arctic region. Their argument is straightforward. Russia is militarizing the Arctic at an unprecedented pace. China has declared itself a near-Arctic state and is expanding its presence. Greenland sits at the most strategically vital position in the Northern Hemisphere, and Denmark, with its population of 6 million, simply cannot defend 2.16 million square kilometers of territory. According to Pentagon briefings, America already operates Patuxent Space Base in northern Greenland, the Department of Defense's northernmost installation. According to Air and Space Forces magazine, the base hosts the 12th Space Warning Squadron, which detects approximately 1,000 ballistic missile launches every year and provides critical minutes of warning against nuclear attack. The administration points to Russia's Northern Fleet expansion. According to the United States Naval Institute, Russia maintains approximately 41 submarines based on the Kola Peninsula, including over 30 nuclear-powered vessels, carrying 81% of Russia's sea-based nuclear weapons. They point to China's July 2024 Joint Strategic Bomber Patrol with Russia near the Alaska Air Defense Identification Zone, the first of its kind in history. So America needs to step up, they say. America needs to secure the Arctic before its adversaries do. America needs Greenland. It sounds reasonable. It sounds responsible. It sounds like a lie. Not because the threats are not real. Russia is militarizing the Arctic. China is expanding its presence. These are documented facts. But here is what they do not mention. According to the Center for Strategic and International Studies, China has made exactly 0 successful major investments in Greenland in the past decade. In 2018, the United States intervened to block a $550 million Chinese airport construction contract. It worked. The contract went to Danish firms instead. According to CSIS analysis, Russia has no military bases within 1,000 miles of Greenland. Russian naval activity concentrates in the Barents Sea, off the coast of Norway and Finland, not anywhere near Greenlandic waters. So who exactly is America protecting Greenland from? Otto Svensson, a defense analyst at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, put it plainly, trying to seize Greenland by force or coercion would be an unforced error for the Trump administration. It is unnecessary on national security grounds, as Washington can already achieve its objectives through working with Greenland and Denmark, already achieve its objectives through the existing alliance, without threats, without tariffs, without the hard way. According to the 1951 defense agreement between the United States and Denmark, America already has broad basing rights in Greenland. According to the 2004 amendment to that agreement, those rights were expanded. According to Council on Foreign Relations President Michael Froman, who visited Greenland personally, the Danes and Greenlanders are not only happy, but eager to work with the United States without us having to fire a shot or write a check. So why the threats? Why the tariffs? Why did President Trump announce on January 17th, according to CNN, 10% tariffs on 8 European countries, rising to 25% by June 1st, unless he received, and I quote, complete and total purchase of Greenland? The answer is not security. The answer is beneath the ice. According to the United States Geological Survey, Greenland contains approximately 1.5 million metric tons of proven rare earth reserves. That ranks 8th globally. But according to geological assessments cited by CSIS, the actual potential, including deposits still buried under the ice sheet, may reach 36 to 42 million metric tons. 36 million metric tons. To put that in perspective, according to CSIS data, China currently controls 70% of global rare earth mining and 90 to 91% of all rare earth processing. China processes 99.9% of the world's dysprosium, 80% of praseodymium and neodymium. These are not obscure elements. According to industry analysts, dysprosium is essential for the permanent magnets in electric vehicle motors. Neodymium powers the magnets in wind turbines, smartphones, and precision-guided munitions. Every F-35 fighter jet, every Tomahawk cruise missile, every iPhone in your pocket, they all depend on elements that China controls. In October 2025, according to Reuters, China announced sweeping new export controls on rare earth elements. In November, they expanded those controls to lithium-ion battery supply chains. According to CSIS analysis, Beijing is weaponizing its mineral dominance, and buried under Greenland's ice is the escape hatch. According to CSIS research, the Kvanefjeld deposit in southern Greenland is the third largest known land-based rare earth deposit on Earth. It contains an estimated 1.01 billion tons of ore with 6.6 to 11 million metric tons of rare earth oxides. The deposit also holds 270,000 tons of uranium, the world's 8th largest uranium deposit. But Kvanefjeld is not even the crown jewel. According to mining industry data, the Tonbreeze deposit, also known as Kringlerne, may be the single largest rare earth deposit on the planet, 28.2 million metric tons. And here is what makes it invaluable. According to geological assessments, Tonbreeze contains over 27% heavy rare earth content. The global average is 5 to 10%. Heavy rare earths are the rarest of the rare, the elements most critical for advanced technology and most dominated by Chinese processing. In 2024, according to CSIS, a New York-based company called Critical Metals Corporation acquired Tonbreeze. They reportedly rejected higher offers from Chinese buyers after United States government lobbying. According to analysts cited by the European Parliament, Greenland's sub-ice dysprosium and neodymium reserves alone could satisfy over 25% of future global demand, 25% of global demand from one island, an island America wants to own. Charles Kupchan, a senior fellow at the Council on Foreign Relations and professor at Georgetown University, assessed the situation with unusual bluntness. If the United States were to use economic and military coercion to take control of Greenland, it would be an unabashed act of imperial aggression against a democratic ally. Imperial aggression. Those are not my words. Those are the words of one of America's most respected foreign policy scholars. But the minerals are only part of the equation. According to Fortune magazine, the shortest flight path for any nuclear missile traveling from Russia or China to the continental United States passes directly over Greenland. According to Air and Space Forces magazine, the radar systems at Patuxent Space Base track 30% of all American orbital assets and provide the first warning of any intercontinental ballistic missile launch. According to the Pentagon's 2024 Arctic Strategy document, Greenland sits at the center of the GIUK Gap, the approximately 700-mile maritime choke point between Greenland, Iceland, and the United Kingdom. Every Russian submarine that wants to reach the Atlantic Ocean from its northern fleet bases must pass through this gap. According to defense analysts cited by the Simons Foundation, during the Cold War, monitoring the GIUK Gap was considered essential to preventing Soviet submarines from threatening American coastal cities. In October 2019, according to naval reports, 10 Russian submarines, including 8 nuclear-powered vessels, conducted drills specifically testing their ability to breach GIUK Gap surveillance. The gap still matters, and Greenland controls the western edge. According to the Pentagon's strategy document, Russia maintains overwhelming military infrastructure advantages in the Arctic. 6 major bases, 14 refurbished airfields, 16 deepwater ports, over 50 reopened Soviet-era military posts. According to defense assessments, Russia operates 14 icebreakers, the world's largest fleet with over 20 more planned, including 9 nuclear-powered vessels. America has 2 operational heavy icebreakers. According to the United States Naval Institute's January 2026 assessment, Russia's Arctic Shamrock base on Franz Josef Land sits at 80 degrees north latitude with 150 troops and S-300 and S-400 air defense systems. The Northern Clover base on Kotelny Island hosts 250 troops and Bastion P coastal defense missiles. Meanwhile, according to Air and Space Forces magazine, Patuxent Space Base hosts approximately 150 American service members, down from 6,000 during the Cold War. 150 against Russia's Arctic military machine, 150 guarding the gateway to the Atlantic, and the disparity goes beyond personnel. According to NATO defense assessments, the United States operates exactly 2 heavy icebreakers capable of Arctic operations. Russia operates 14, with over 20 more under construction, including 9 nuclear-powered vessels that can operate year-round in the thickest ice. China has commissioned at least 3 icebreakers, with a heavy polar vessel launched in 2025. According to the Pentagon's 2024 Arctic strategy, the Department of Defense has identified critical capability gaps in Arctic operations: limited icebreaking capacity, insufficient cold weather training, inadequate infrastructure for sustained Arctic presence. America cannot project power in the Arctic the way it projects power elsewhere. The geography is too harsh, the distance is too vast, the infrastructure too limited. But Greenland changes that equation. According to military analysts, Greenland offers 300 miles of deep water coastline on its western shore, year-round port access that does not require icebreaker support, airfields capable of supporting heavy transport and fighter aircraft, and a position that dominates both the Northwest Passage and the approaches to the North Atlantic. According to recent exercises reported by Air and Space Forces magazine in October 2025, 2 F-35 stealth fighters, 2 F-16 fighters, and 3 KC-135 tanker aircraft deployed to Patuxent Space Base for dynamic operational exercises. The message was clear. America can operate advanced combat aircraft from Greenland. But America does not need to own Greenland to do that. The existing defense agreement already allows it. According to the Danish government, Denmark maintains about 150 permanent military personnel across all of Greenland, 2.16 million square kilometers, defended by 300 soldiers total, American and Danish combined. This is not about protecting Greenland from Russia and China. America already has the legal right to base troops there. America already operates the most important radar installation in the Arctic there. This is about owning the resources, controlling the choke point, and removing Denmark from the equation. Robert Kagan, senior fellow at the Brookings Institution and one of America's most influential foreign policy thinkers, wrote in The Atlantic that the implications extend far beyond one island. The American-dominated liberal world order is over. The American might that upheld the world order of the past 80 years will now be used instead to destroy it. To destroy it. Not to defend it, to destroy it. Here is where this gets dangerous. According to Professor Michael Schmidt of the University of Reading and Harvard Law School, writing in Just Security on January 13, 2026, any American military operation to seize Greenland would unambiguously trigger NATO Article 5. Article 5 is the collective defense clause. An attack on one is an attack on all. It has been invoked exactly once in NATO's history, after September 11, 2001, when European allies came to America's defense. According to Professor Schmidt's legal analysis, Greenland falls clearly within Article 5's geographic scope as North American territory of Denmark. The United States has repeatedly acknowledged Danish sovereignty through the 1916 Lansing Declaration, the 1951 Defense Agreement, and the 2004 Amendment. According to the United Nations definition of aggression, which Professor Schmidt cites, invasion or attack by the armed forces of a state on the territory of another state constitutes aggression. Any annexation by the use of force of the territory of another state constitutes aggression. There is no exception for NATO members attacking other NATO members. Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut was asked directly whether NATO would have to defend Greenland against an American attack. His answer, according to congressional reporting, was 3 words. Of course, yes. Danish Defense Committee Chairman Rasmus Jarlov stated publicly that Denmark would invoke Article 5 if attacked. According to Danish military regulations, a 1952 standing order requires Danish troops to immediately take up the fight without waiting for or seeking orders if Danish territory is attacked. 300 soldiers against the United States military. It would not be a war. It would be a statement that the Western Alliance died the moment America attacked it. Anna Wieslander, director of the Atlantic Council's Northern Europe office, assessed the situation in stark terms. For NATO, this means the worst possible start to the year. The possibility that the United States, the leading member of the alliance, would use its might to annex part of another ally's territory is almost beyond imagination and a nightmare for NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. A nightmare for the alliance that won the Cold War, for the alliance that kept the peace in Europe for 75 years, for the alliance that America built and led and now threatens to destroy. This is not the first time America has tried to buy Greenland. According to historical records from the National Constitution Center, in 1867, fresh off the Alaska Purchase, Secretary of State William Seward commissioned a survey and proposed buying both Greenland and Iceland for $5.5 million. Congress rejected the idea, still mocking him for the $7.2 million Alaska acquisition that newspapers called Seward's Folly and Seward's Icebox. Alaska is now worth an estimated $2.5 trillion in resources. According to State Department Historical Archives, in 1946, the Truman administration made a formal offer. The Joint Chiefs of Staff had declared Greenland indispensable to the safety of the United States. President Truman offered Denmark $100 million in gold, roughly $1 billion in today's money. He even proposed a land swap involving oil-rich Point Barrow, Alaska. Danish Foreign Minister Gustav Rasmussen received the offer with, according to diplomatic cables, shock and dismay. He told the American ambassador, "While we owe much to America, I do not feel that we owe them the whole island of Greenland." Denmark refused, but they granted extensive basing rights through the 1951 Defense Agreement, rights America still uses today. In 2019, Trump first publicly proposed buying Greenland. Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen called it an absurd discussion. Trump canceled a scheduled state visit in retaliation. The pattern is consistent. America asks. Denmark refuses. America gets basing rights anyway. But look deeper at the pattern and something else emerges. According to historians, the Louisiana Purchase of 1803 was not a straightforward real estate transaction. Napoleon sold because he needed money for his European wars and because he calculated that America would eventually take the territory anyway. Spain had ceded Louisiana to France just 3 years earlier. The territory changed hands based on European power calculations, not the wishes of the people living there. The Alaska Purchase followed a similar logic. According to the National Constitution Center, Russia sold Alaska because it could not defend the territory against British expansion from Canada and because the Crimean War had depleted the treasury. Russia calculated that selling to America was better than losing the territory to Britain for nothing. In both cases, the seller was a declining power cutting its losses. The buyer was a rising power expanding its reach. The people living in the territory had no say. Denmark is not a declining power. Denmark is a prosperous NATO ally with strong institutions and close ties to the European Union. Greenland is not an undefended wilderness. It is a self-governing territory with its own parliament, its own prime minister, and its own views on its future. According to March 2025 polling, 85% of Greenlanders oppose becoming American. The Greenlandic people have spoken. They do not want this. But this time is different. According to CNBC reporting, Trump is not asking. According to his own words, he is demanding. And according to the Atlantic Council's Jorn Fleck, the playbook has changed entirely. Few are celebrating the de-escalation because of how pointless and reckless they view this latest test of the alliance's credibility and cohesion. What de-escalation? On January 21st, 2026, according to CNBC, Trump announced at the World Economic Forum in Davos that he had reached a framework of a future deal with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. He withdrew his tariff threats. But according to NATO's official statement, Rutte did not propose any compromise on sovereignty. According to Greenland's new Prime Minister, Jens Frederik Nielsen, sovereignty is a red line. According to Trump's own words at Davos, we have a concept of a deal. Essentially, it is total access. There is no end. There is no time limit. I'm not going to have to pay anything. Total access. No time limit. No payment. That is not a deal. That is a demand dressed up as diplomacy. The historical parallel is not the Alaska Purchase or the Louisiana Purchase. According to State Department historians, the closest parallel is the Virgin Islands acquisition of 1917. The United States paid $25 million for St. Thomas, St. John, and St. Croix. But according to historians, Secretary of State Robert Lansing employed what they describe as bullying tactics, insinuating that America might simply seize the islands to prevent German takeover during World War I. Denmark sold under duress. And crucially, that treaty required the United States to formally recognize Danish sovereignty over all of Greenland. Now America wants to undo that recognition. Russia is watching. According to PBS News, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov assessed that Trump's Greenland bid heralds a deep crisis for NATO. He added, "It was hard to imagine before that such a thing could happen." Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov noted that Trump indicated international law does not represent any kind of priority or substance for him. According to ABC News, Russian state media tabloid Moskovsky Komsomolets revealed the strategic calculation behind Moscow's public satisfaction. Greenland is not just Trump's coveted 2 million square kilometer island. It is an icy noose around Russia's throat. An icy noose, threatening the Northern Fleet, threatening Russia's Arctic economic projects, threatening the effectiveness of Russia's nuclear deterrent. Russia publicly celebrates NATO's turmoil. But according to Council on Foreign Relations Analysis, Moscow is also wary. If America successfully takes Greenland, Russia loses its geographic advantage in the Arctic. The GIUK gap becomes an American-controlled choke point. Russian submarines face even greater surveillance challenges reaching the Atlantic. According to CFR analysts, the Kremlin is pursuing what it has sought for 80 years, a rupture in the Atlantic community and the demise of NATO. But a rupture caused by American aggression could leave Russia facing a more powerful, more aggressive America without the constraints of alliance obligations. China has been more measured. According to Chinese Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Mao Ning, the Arctic region bears on the common interests of the international community. The United States should not pursue its own interests by using other countries as a pretext. According to European Parliament research, China declared itself a near-Arctic state in its 2018 Arctic Policy White Paper. Beijing has steadily expanded its Arctic presence. In September 2024, according to defense reports, Chinese Coast Guard vessels entered Arctic waters for the first time in a joint patrol with Russia. But according to security analysts cited by multiple sources, there is no evidence supporting Trump's claims of Chinese or Russian warships all over the place near Greenland. Russian naval activity concentrates in the Barents Sea. China and Russia's presence in the Bering Sea is geographically and strategically distinct from Greenland. The threat Trump claims to be defending against does not exist where he claims it exists. If America follows through, the consequences cascade. According to Atlantic Council analysis, NATO fractures. Not because of Russian aggression or Chinese expansion, but because America attacked its own ally. The alliance that deterred Soviet expansion for 4 decades, that integrated former Warsaw Pact nations into the democratic West, that responded to September 11th with unprecedented solidarity, ends not with a bang, but with an American betrayal. According to the Danish Defense Intelligence Service's 2025 threat assessment, the United States is now mentioned as a threat to Danish national security for the first time in history. Alongside Russia, alongside China, America is now in the same category as its declared adversaries in the threat assessment of a NATO ally. According to CSIS analysis, European nations are already recalculating their security arrangements. According to Atlantic Council reporting, defense spending across Europe is accelerating not just against Russia, but with an eye toward American unpredictability. According to European Parliament briefings, the European Union is exploring enhanced security cooperation with Greenland independent of NATO frameworks. The American alliance system that took 80 years to build could collapse in months. And what replaces it? According to CFR analysis, a world without American alliance leadership is a world where regional powers fill the vacuum. China expands its influence across Asia unopposed. Russia consolidates control over its near abroad. Middle powers like Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and India pursue independent strategic paths unconstrained by American preferences. According to European defense analysts, the European Union has begun preliminary discussions about a common defense framework independent of NATO. For 75 years, European security depended on American commitment. If that commitment is no longer reliable, if America is willing to attack its own allies, Europe must find another way. According to the Atlantic Council, the damage extends beyond Europe. Every American ally in Asia, Japan, South Korea, the Philippines, Australia is watching. If America abandons its European allies over an Arctic island, what does that mean for the Taiwan Strait, for the South China Sea, for the Korean Peninsula? The message is clear. American security guarantees are conditional. American friendship has a price, and America will collect that price by force if necessary. That is not alliance leadership. That is extortion. And then there are the resources. According to CSIS research, developing Greenland's rare earth deposits would take a decade under optimal conditions. The Kvanefjeld mine faces a 2021 uranium mining ban that currently blocks development. According to legal filings, Energy Transition Minerals has filed an $11.5 billion arbitration claim against Denmark and Greenland over that ban. Seizing Greenland does not give America immediate access to rare earths. It gives America a decade of development work, massive infrastructure investment, and the technical challenge of building processing facilities that currently do not exist outside China. According to CSIS analysis, even if America mines every gram of rare earth in Greenland, it would still have to ship it to China to turn it into anything useful. China controls 90% of processing. That is not mining. That is the entire refining infrastructure. Taking Greenland does not break Chinese dominance. It creates a different kind of dependence with the added cost of destroying the Western alliance. Here's what happens next. Based on the current trajectory and the pattern of Trump administration behavior, America will continue to pressure Denmark and Greenland through 2026. According to reporting from NBC News, Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff are leading negotiations for some form of enhanced American control. According to Atlantic Council analysis, potential frameworks under discussion include expanded military presence, resource development deals, and a compact of free association similar to American agreements with Pacific Island nations like Palau and the Marshall Islands. Based on European Parliament assessments and polling data, Greenland's independence movement will accelerate. According to March 2025 polls, 85% of Greenlanders oppose becoming American, but 56% favor eventual independence from Denmark. American pressure may push Greenland toward independence faster than anyone anticipated. If Greenland becomes independent, according to legal analysts, it exits NATO's Article 5 protections. An independent Greenland would need to negotiate its own security arrangements. America would have far more leverage over a small independent nation than over a territory backed by NATO and the European Union. Based on the historical pattern of American territorial acquisition and the current administration's stated willingness to use force, the most likely outcome by 2030 is some form of American control over Greenland's security and resources, whether Denmark and Greenland consent or not. The question is not whether America gets what it wants. The question is what America destroys to get it. According to YouGov polling, only 8% of Americans support invading Greenland. 73% oppose it. Congressional opposition is bipartisan. According to CNBC, Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson called Trump's threats completely inappropriate. Democratic Senator Ruben Gallego introduced a resolution to block military funds for any Greenland action. America does not want this. Its people do not want this. Its Congress does not want this. But one man does. And according to every major think tank, every legal scholar, and every alliance expert who has analyzed the situation, he appears willing to burn down 80 years of American global leadership to get it. The ice is melting. The clock is ticking. And most people still are not paying attention. Empires are not built on ideology. They are built on resources. They always have been. They always will be. Greenland has the resources. 36 million metric tons of rare earths, 7.8 billion barrels of oil, 91.9 trillion cubic feet of natural gas. The gateway to the Arctic, the watchtower against nuclear attack. America wants those resources. And America has decided that 75 years of alliance, 75 years of partnership, 75 years of shared sacrifice are worth less than what is buried under the ice. This island will not start World War III because of Russian aggression or Chinese expansion. This island will start World War III because America decided that its allies are obstacles, not partners. That is not security. That is empire. And empires do not ask permission. They take. If this changed how you see the world, subscribe. The Arctic is where the future is being decided. I will show you how.